Hello, I'm Hugo Disler from Farming Secrets, and have the absolute pleasure of showing you some of my little things that I do out in the garden. And it's a part of meditation or relaxing to have a bit of a break. So let's hop into it. Here what we've got, Ray, is we've got two neighbours who got a boundary which is about here, and this neighbour here, lovely fellow, both are lovely neighbours, he would burn off his leaves from this chestnut tree and his walnut tree as well. And he'd create a terrible smell with these green leaves and catkins would burn. These catkins meaning these sort of things here. And I said to him, well, knowing how good mulch is, I said, let's put it over the fence and for me. So he'd piled it up. And his neighbour got to wind of it, that's what he can do. So he's doing that as well. So what I've got here is an area which is now expanded to 3 times the size of what that it was. Well, whatever that is, some 10, 20 metres wide. No, it wouldn't be 20 metres. Anyway, as you can see, that long. But what the wonderful thing is, this was put here last about May, June sort of thing. And what I've got here is 2 materials. Off the top here, I've got material that hasn't broken down yet, and I'll show you later on what I do with that material that hasn't broken down, because it has a place as well to use pretty well straight off. So I've been here before, so I've done a bit of the homework, alright, but what I love here is this here. What we've got here is 2 things. We've got a lot of live, this hasn't been disturbed, so you'll see as it is. And what you see here is this beautiful soil that it's become beautiful soil. And not only get beautiful soil, what we'll see with a bit of luck, we will see live worms that have just come here on their own accord. And we'll get to that point, I'm sure. And they haven't been introduced. They just came here naturally. We will see them. There's one there. And we got 2 types here. We got the gentle ones like that, and the ones we got that go wild. And I think they call the ones that go wild red wrigglers. What they do is composting, they do. So there's more from here. They're just a baby one. We just saw the baby one, then it disappeared. But sometimes I just get a mass of them. And I also get the common earthworm in here as well. So they're all doing their job. And as you can see, this is beautiful earth down there. Here we are, Ray. Usually you find a mass of these worms here, and they haven't been introduced. They just come in on their own accord. And to my understanding, compost worms are just worms that like eating surface material. There's another one. I think they are earthworms. But that's the only difference. And they, as I said, I'll repeat myself, they just came here on their own accord. So Ray, we'll go over to the other area where I'll show you what we do with this material once we take it over and put it on our veggie garden. Oh Ray, what I like doing is I like being frugal. And naturally you used to buy tomato stakes, in the old days they were 6 foot long, and then after 1 or 2 years they'd rot off the base, so you would break off the base, or usually broke off, and you end up with 5 foot tomato stakes. So what I've done here, this is a privet which is pretty close to being a weed, and I had it cut out the other day, and so I made myself tomato stakes out of it, and they're about 6 foot high. And I'm going to show you how I use these instead of the traditional square tomato stakes. Ray, there's two techniques here I want to show, and have had the pleasure of having these bars, and also paint them white so that when you leave them on the ground you don't lose them. And this bigger bar is naturally easy to use, so I'm going to show you what my dad taught me a long time ago. You've got two ways of putting a tomato stake in the ground. You can hammer it in, or you can, as my dad would do, just poke a hole in the soil like this, any depth, well, deeper, well, not quite that deep, and because that went down so deep, I'll put the bigger stake in. And what a farmer who we used to employ in our farm supply store, what he taught me is this, that it's more important to compact the bottom part of a fence post than what it is to the top. So he would make sure that the bottom part of the post is compact, and because that was on a sort of a slope like that, naturally it has its own compaction. Now with a bit more effort, that will we can make that more sturdier. Now I have a lot of fun just improvising, and this soil is beautiful because the lot added, but as you'll see how easy it is to poke and you don't need the blunt end. The short end is the sharp end is quite okay to pack it down with. Well, that's going to hold a tomato up. Now, the other interesting thing too is what my neighbour showed me. You get these flax leaves. Flax is quite a problem because mowers don't like it. They don't get tangled up. And what he showed me, you just strip it down like that, and you tie the tomato with this. It lasts the length of the tomato. So you can use the flax to tie up your tomatoes. How good is that, Ray? Another handy little hint, which I enjoy. I just enjoy being frugal. The other thing too, Ray, I'm just experimenting with different ways of tying up tomatoes, and what I will be doing up that end, I will be stripping the laterals out of it so there won't be one tomato going up, and it's the old-fashioned way that my mother taught us how to do it. All our tomatoes had the laterals taken up, and they used to grow very tall, and we used to get heaps of tomatoes from them. But the new technique now is, especially when they grow tomatoes for tomato sauce, is to let them flop on the ground and then just come and harvest them in one go. Well, actually, I'm not going to do that. But using that sort of technique, what I will do is I use a variety of materials for putting underneath them. And one of the materials is this stuff here, right? It's all sugarcane mulch. When it's on special, it's actually about the same price as the ordinary sugarcane mulch. What I find with sugarcane mulch is it's perfect for crops like garlic, because it lasts for such a long time, and it is maybe a bit too good when it comes to blanketing the soil, because what I want is as much energy to go into the soil, and we want things to break down. So what we've got here is sugarcane mulch. If you're using newspaper, make sure it's a nice thick wad, and again, that's very easy to get rid of when the time comes. Just put a newspaper there. Well, naturally you put it in between. The other thing what I like doing is, as we saw before, using this very coarse leafy material, because while the tomatoes, in the next 6 weeks or so, while the tomatoes are ripening, any tomatoes on the ground, this material here will keep them clean and also keeps the weeds down. And I don't mind weeds. They don't. Now, Ray, showed you. No, another thing on tying up things with this material. This here is electrical cable. What I found recently was when I used special commercial ties, that those ties would the plastic wore off and the inside wire was so thin it's pretty close to useless. An electrician told me that what you do, this is far better because the material, the wire itself is much thicker and it's copper, but you very easily can strip it, as you can see, and this bit what's left over, again you can use for tying up your tomato. But what you'll see me use this is you just tie, I've already done those, but you tie these things up, this material, and the good thing about it is it's very, very easy to use, and the copper wire won't deteriorate, so it'll still be there. What I'm also going to be doing, Ray, is planting in the next day or so, prior to full moon, is planting a whole lot of border plants here. Things like persane, miner's lettuce, that's warrigal lettuce, and parsley, and a variety of things along here. I've already got things planted here like silver beet in behind these plastic things. And the reason I have put them in behind plastic things is that I find that our field mice or our natural rats want to eat my bait, so that way the bait stays there longer, and so I use those temporarily. Well, they can stay there as long as the plant grows. So what I'm trying to do here, I'm not trying to do, I am doing, I've got things that are self-seeded themselves in there, like from last year, there's over in the corner there is spinach. More spinach will be going along here. Another thing I found a little bit of fun that I had was that I wanted to, this here is a very good commercial seed raising mix, very good for putting stuff in, but I did find it dried out a bit more, far quicker than my own stuff. So just by chance I went and got this, which is too fine, and just by chance I went and found this, happened to be right beside, and it was absolutely ideal for creating as you'll see, a perfect bed for your plants. That is just absolutely perfect, and because that's virtually 100% humus, it doesn't dry out well. It doesn't dry out. The other thing I'm having a bit of fun doing, Ray, is markers. Very simply, just cut a couple of, I've done that end already, so just cut a couple of slits, and the cheaper the hose, the better the markers are. And you just put your marker in there, and either use that pole thing, and you have these markers, and you can have them at you can have them any length you like. This was from I tried to do this, it was a very good hose, and it didn't want to cut easily. So the cheaper the hose, the easier it is to cut it. But I find it's a way that you don't lose your where the markers are. So the marker is there between there and there. The other thing too is what I've just found out quite often, when you want to find where your marker is, you can't find it. So as of this year, I've decided to put a marker there, like that rock or the brick, to mark where the markers are, because as vegetation grows, it's harder to find the markers. And just another thing of interest, Ray, is these beans won't stop growing. These are last year's beans, and they're growing like crazy, and they just want to go up and up in there. But I find that when they get to a certain height, they will arch downwards and they'll stop going up in the air. Another thing, Ray, is something my mother taught me, that when it comes to shading this material, you've got my mother would just get branches like this, and she'd put the seeds down, and us kids would be poking these branches in to shade the seeds that are coming up. But what in the modern day, what we can do, we've got a variety of shade cloths that we can put down. And the advantage of the shade cloth, we'll start off with this white one over here, right? With this white one, the advantage of using shade cloth, you can use it many times over. The white one will reflect heat. So on a hot time, you'd want the white so it doesn't dry out what's underneath. On a cold day, colder times, black is better because it actually tracks heat, which you want. And in the middle you can have green. Just recently I've found the white was good, was all I needed. Hessian is very good, but what I have found with Hessian, it can be a bit too good, keep too much moisture down, and it's not easy to get either. But the other good thing about when you're putting shade cloth down to protect your seed as your seed is trying to grow, is that as you're watering it, you're not going to water the seed out because it breaks the fall of the water as it goes through the shade cloth. So it's a good little technique that works for me. And that's it, Ray, for here. Thank you. What we've got here is grown tomatoes, which I've got quite early, probably around end of September. One's a Groslissi, or however you want to pronounce it, and the other one is some other one, which is Heritage one. But the fact they're growing in pots, they just don't want to grow as well. And as you might have seen at the far end there, I've got zucchini growing very well, and these zucchini, because I had not enough room there, I decided I'd put them in pots, but they just don't like being in pots. So that's the sort of the difference between growing in the ground and in pots. And the reason we've got things in pots up here, because we are going to be changing the pool fence, so that we're not going to be changing the pool fence till about June. What we've also done here, we had a pea crop before. This is the remnants of the pea crop that we had, and while the pea crop was growing, I put some beans in here. But as you can see, the beans are not doing as well as the beans down, the ones that are growing down there. But other interesting thing, Ray, these are bush beans. They should be about that high, but because the soil is so very rich, they are going berserk. So I don't know when they're going to stop growing. Also, what I've done here is done two other things. We put in radish in here, which is just as a sort of a crop, just an additional crop. So we've been having quite a feed of radishes all the time. We're also trying to grow some peas out of season, see how successful we were. And we have also put in here spinach. And this is a self-seeded spinach, but there's a spinach here that we've grown from what we have grown. That's been grown from seed. So what we're doing here is we're developing a syntropic, using the principles of syntropic farming, where you just grew a number of things in together, including feature trees, furniture trees, right down to banana plants, and they all had a thing. And it's now done. It's been done for 30 odd years in Brazil, and it's a commercial success. So here I've got in the pots, I've got two different types of cucumbers, and they will grow into there. So I'm just having a lot of fun here with growing things, and just get a lot of fun out of it. And the amount of food we get from here is just unbelievable. There's food to give away, and we sort of end up eating extra food just because we've grown it. Every time I water, I will, there's vermicompost in there, and I will stir it up and put it in a watering can. The other thing too is that I don't like using chlorinated water, nor do I like using water that's got fluoride in it, which basically is aluminium sulfate or some such equivalent, which comes from the smelting industry. So they're available now, town water, which I don't particularly want to be putting on my plants. So I pump up water from a soak, and I put it in that blue drum over there, and I'll actually carry the water up to this point here. And every second time I'm watering, I'll put a smidgen of fish and seaweed concentrate, about a teaspoon, into a watering can for these plants. And as you can see, they're doing exceedingly well. Well, the ones that want to grow, except the beans. Thank you, Ray.
All right, soil lovers, well, that's another video from us at The Patch Farming Secrets HQ. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. We've got lots of videos like this on our Soil Learning Center. There'll be links always around the videos, but if you head over to soillearningcenter.com, that is our learning hub with years and years of videos and interviews, and even now the latest podcast, Secrets of the Soils. All the videos are loaded there for you to continually dig deeper and learn more about how our soils functions. I hope any of the videos that you watch from Farming Secrets really sparks that interest, so that way you start thinking, I really want to know how the soil beneath my feet can actually heal the planet, reverse so many of the broken systems, and also grow nutrient-dense food. It's literally a win-win-win for everything above the ground if we just start nurturing the stuff below the ground. So with that, I really hope that we're inspiring you to really leave our soils better today than what they were yesterday. And with that, I'll let you head over to the Soil Learning Center where you can keep digging deeper and getting your hands dirty and really understanding the wonderful world of our soil. Regen Ray for Farming Secrets.